Welcome to this introduction to LaTeX. I'm just going to go through the real basics of using LaTeX on your own computer, just so you understand what's going on behind the hood, and so you understand the basic structure of LaTeX when you're using it, for example, in Overleaf. So first of all, I'm on a Mac here. I've got a pretty blank setup. So how do we get LaTeX installed? So on a Mac, the basic LaTeX installation is called MacTeX. So if you just search for MacTeX, you'll find the MacTeX 2022 distribution, for example. And to download, you can just simply click MacTeX download and follow the installation procedure. And once that's through, you should have a working installation of LaTeX on your laptop. So this is the procedure for a Mac. So the same procedure basically for Linux. Otherwise, you could use the package manager in Ubuntu, for example, to install various LaTeX packages. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you've basically done this step. So it's a bit of a large download, so I won't do it live. But once you've done that step, what you should have, so if we just go and search for a terminal here, you should find that there's a command in your terminal. Just make this a little bit larger. And there should be a command called LaTeX, okay? And well, by itself, this does nothing. So the basic structure of a LaTeX document is simply a text file. So I'm going to simply make a new directory here. And I'm going to make a blank file called, let's call it report.tex. Okay, so in this directory, I simply have a blank file called report.tex. Okay, now it's a LaTeX document, so I use the touch command, which just makes a blank file. So you can see this has no file size here. But you can edit your LaTeX file with your favorite text editor. So a very simple one that's always there in Unix is Nano, but it really doesn't matter what your text editor is. So I'm going to go with a basic one, but you might like to install something more sophisticated. All right, so basic LaTeX document just has 3 commands. So it has document class, so \document class, and the default style is article, but you could have book or report or various other things, which are basically style files that tell you how you want your LaTeX document displayed. Okay, and then the only other commands are begin document and end document. And then we can simply type some text in between the begin document and end document. Okay, so it's very important. So LaTeX is a little bit of well, I guess you could call it a programming language, but you just simply have to put these declarations in place, begin document, end document. It's very important that you have the curly brackets correct. You don't use any other kind of brackets, that you use a backslash here on begin, and you close the brackets off. And this document class is the name of a style file, which in this case is going to be come with our native LaTeX distribution. Now in Nano, just down here, you can see I just type Control-X and say yes to save. I want to write to this report.tex. Okay, so if you do ls-l again, I can see that this has some content. I can look at the content of a text file using the more command, or I can use the cat command on Unix. And you can see the content that I just typed in my text editor. Now you can use a bunch of different text editors to edit a file. So for example, Emacs. You can see I've got some nice syntax highlighting in Emacs. But apart from, oops, sorry. So the hardest thing in Emacs is how to get out. Whoop. Indeed, I don't know. Let me just kill Emacs. All right, so the next thing after we've got our document here, so just check it's the same, is we want to execute LaTeX on that text file. Okay, now by default, LaTeX, the base command would just produce this file called report.dvi. Okay, so what it does is takes this report.tex and turns it into this special file called report.dvi. Now this is a little bit useless. So the old procedure used to be you can use 2 commands like dvips, for example, report.dvi. You can just give report Okay, and this would turn the DVI file into report.postscript. So traditionally, LaTeX would give you a PostScript document, but these days it's much more useful to just go straight to a PDF. So you can do DVI PDF, report.dvi, or simply report is fine. Okay, and this would give us a file called report.pdf. So basically we've gone from a very simple text file, and if we open report.pdf, we can see we've got a basic blank document that says hello world, and you can also see it has a page number here at the bottom. So that's the real basics. Now you might have thought that's a little bit laborious going through the DVI stuff, and basically that's all hidden for you if you use the command pdflatex. So if you just use the command pdflatex report.text, it goes straight from the .tex file to the report.pdf. So these days, that's all you would normally do. So we would just skip these report.dvi and report.ps. And these other files are just some things that LaTeX makes along the way. You know, so if I delete again report.pdf, you can see that if I type pdflatex report.tex, it's going to give me the PDF file from the .tex. So that's the basic what's going on behind the hood. So for example, when you click compile on Overleaf, all it's doing is running pdflatex on your .tex file, and that's producing a file called, you know, the same name .pdf instead of .tex. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, so let's do a little bit more than just some very basic commands. So let's just add a little bit to our document. So in particular, the main thing in LaTeX, which is important to understand, is that you're separating the style from the content. So what's really important here is that we should really keep all the style stuff in this command up the top, this article.class. Now it's very tempting to want to restyle your document yourself. I'm going to go through the right way to do that a little bit later on. Okay, but for the moment, all we want to type in LaTeX is our content. So for example, so a simple way would be give ourselves a title. So I'm going to make myself the author, and I'm going to give the document a title, /title, my report. Okay, and the simple command that you add to make a title is then called make title. All right, so the only thing we've done, we've added this title command and the author command. And you notice we've added them before the begin document. And then we've added this make title command for where we actually want the title to be made. All right, so let's do that. So yes, save the file, pdflatex report.tx. Okay, and we can open report.pdf. Yeah, we can see my report, Daniel Bryce. You notice it gives me the date automatically, and it has the content underneath. Now, you might be thinking already, I don't really like the style of this document, but you are not the right person to be changing the style, or at least we shouldn't be changing the style in the .tex file. Now, I'll show you some little hacks that you can do just to change the page margins and some really basic things. But if we're going to start doing that stuff, what we really should do is make our own class file. Okay, so let's go back into our document here. Now you can already see it's a little bit, you know, there's a couple of steps involved, but they're not very big steps. There's just edit the document, nano report.tex. And I can just keep adding some things to this document. And then I just want to write pdflatex, the name of the .tex file, and my document will update here on the right. So, so let's put in a section, for example, introduction, subsection, you know, overview, what you should know. And then maybe another section, subsection, what you shouldn't know. And then we'll maybe have another section, which is perhaps the methods, perhaps a section called results, a section called discussion, and a section called conclusion. So you notice that nowhere did I tell anybody to put things in boldface or please put this in italics. So again, the style commands should really be left to the style file. All right, so I'm going to Control X and say yes to save, right to the file name, pdflatex report.tex. Okay, and now over here, we can see that we've got now a bunch of section headings and some subsections. And so we have the basic structure of a LaTeX document. All right, so it's really as simple as that. There's not much more to it except learning some basic syntax around how you type mathematics and how you reference documents. All right, so just a couple more things. So something really simple here. So if I want to add a table of contents in LaTeX, it's as simple as adding the command table of contents. All right, so let's just add that. pdflatex report.tex. Oops, sorry. And you can see it's complaining to me because I've put the command in the wrong place. So table of contents shouldn't come before begin documents. So let's get rid of this, this table of contents command here and put it after the title, table of contents. Okay, so Control X. Yes, pdflatex. All right, and if we look at the thing on the left here, on the right, we can see that we now have a nice little table of contents with all of my section headings in the contents. So this is quite nice. You notice I had to put 0 effort into making this table of contents. It's all automatic. All right, so let's cover some other basic things. Now I'm going to use a slightly more sophisticated text editor. So I'm going to use the Atom text editor to instead of Nano, and that's simply because I can get some syntax highlighting that will help me with what's going on. Now, welcome to Atom. Now, you might like to use, some people use VS Code. There's very powerful text editors, but the main thing I would like to happen is I would like to highlight the LaTeX syntax and to tell me when things have gone wrong. So I'm going to just go into my Atom preferences and look for the install package. I'm going to look for the LaTeX package here. And I'm going to just install the LaTeX tools for Atom. All right, and so hopefully once I've installed the LaTeX tools for Atom, if I go back to my document, I believe that that's should be done. All right, let's just try and quit and reload. No, it hasn't given us syntax highlighting. All right, so let's try again. Go back into preferences. Let's try and find a package that gives us syntax highlighting for LaTeX. So LaTeX tools, language tech. Let's try again. So I would have thought this one would be the basic. I thought this one would be the basic package that would do the right thing. Let's try again. Linter spell, it gives us spell checking. Let's try basic syntax highlighting. Here you go, LaTeX simple. All right, there we go. That's what we're after. So now we have a nice little syntax highlighting on our LaTeX commands. All right, so this looks a little bit easier. Let me try and get rid of this project pane. Whoops, it's the wrong one. All right, let's just reopen Atom here. All right, now we're set up for doing editing of our LaTeX document in Atom. Actually, in Atom, it's usually easier to open the whole directory. So if you open the directory, it thinks the directory is like a project, and then you can sort of click on the file on the left here, and it will show you your document. So this is more helpful because I can see my nice directory listing on the left here. Well, so my PDF is an unreadable file here. but you can get Atom to do lots of fancy things. Anyway, the point is that Atom is just a text editor. It's no different to Nano. The only thing I'm using it for in this case is to give me nice blue and yellow text here. All right, so let's go beyond the basics. So what if I want to type an equation? So this is simply begin equation. And this is where LaTeX is the most powerful. So begin equation, end equation is all that I would type. And then in between the begin and end equation, I can simply type mathematics. So for example, y equals x squared. Let's take a simple example like that. So pdflatex. And you can see in my document on the right here, I now have an equation, which is nicely numbered, which says y equals x squared. Now, the key thing about equations is let's, for example, consider the equation for a quadratic. Okay, now when you're writing equations, you should treat your equation as if it's part of the text, where x. Now, if you want to type maths in the text, you have to type dollars around the variable is the dependent variable. Oh, well, x is the input variable, let's call it that. All right, so you notice I've typed a whole sentence. My equation is in the middle of the sentence, and I've written some text afterwards. All right, so pdflatex again. So you can see that my text now flows nicely through, where x is the input variable. And you notice that x is in italics because it's in what you call math mode. So math mode basically is the dollar signs around some equation. So for example, which is the same equation as if I just want to write maths in line, I just write dollar signs, y equals x squared. All right. Now you notice that the blank line in between the text here gives me a new paragraph. So you can see that I've got some indentation on the right-hand side. So this is a new paragraph over here. And that's done it because I've added the blank line. So if I just get rid of the blank line, then it doesn't think it's a new paragraph anymore, pdflatex report.tex. Now, if I'm on a Mac, I would actually not use a text editor at all. I would actually use something that comes with Mac Tech called TechShop. Okay, so if we just simply search here, TechShop, then TechShop is going to be already there on your system. And you can simply then open -a TechShop report.tex. Okay, and we say yes. And now we see we have a nice little GUI editor. And not only do we not have to use preview anymore, we can just simply have a nice little tool where we can just click typeset. Now it's very important that what's happening here is all that's happening is exactly what was happening in the terminal. You can say it says this is pdftex. So all that TechShop is doing is providing me with a text editor for the basic tech file, and it's providing me with a PDF viewer for the final product. So it's really important just to notice that's all these tools do is they just replace this kind of slightly laborious thing on the command line of typing pdflatex, giving you the PDF output and bringing it up in a viewer. Okay, but it's very important to notice that you don't need any kind of GUI tool. You can do all of this in the terminal just the same way. Okay, so I'm going to close my terminal now. I'm going to just keep editing this document in TechShop. All right, so let's just try and make this a little bigger. And well, we can certainly make this one a bit bigger. And let's think about some other things that we might like to add to our document. So you've noticed that we've used begin equation here. So the other important thing to know is how to reference equations. Okay, so you reference things with labels. So I'll give it a label. I'm going to label \label quadratic. Now this ec thing is just a convention. It's not compulsory, but it's simply a nice way of showing. Let me just make the font size a little bit bigger here so you can see. There we are. All right, so we can see a little bit better what we're typing. So the label here is just a text label. It's just a convention to use equation to reference an equation. But now we can label and we can reference equation ref. And so the corresponding thing to the label is the ref. So eq quadratic. All right, and I want you to notice how this appears in my LaTeX document. Okay, so you see, I said LaTeX gives me a warning. There are undefined references. And that's because I have to run LaTeX twice to get the references to happen properly. And that's because it puts the reference in the .aux file and that gets read the next time through. Now, it's really important that you don't do this manually. So when you label like this, what that enables is, for example, hyperlinks to work properly. So it's very common that you would just be able to click. In fact, if we use a package called hyperref, then this would just work automatically. Sorry. Use package hyperref. Okay, doesn't like me the first time, but it should work the second time. All right, so you can see with hyperref now, I actually have links and I can click in the PDF document and this works. So hyperref is the right way to get links, but I'm just going to skip that for the moment. But it's just important to tell you that when you use this label ref system, it's really what shows you what enables this kind of linking in your document to happen. Okay, so that's the basics. What if I want to type a multi-line equation? So you can be done as follows. So for example, if I just want to make multiple lines with equations in it, I tend to use the align argument. Now there's many ways to do this in LaTeX, but I tend to use align. I think it's probably the easiest one. So y equals x squared, y equals x cubed, and let's say z equals square root of x squared plus y squared. Okay, now what we need is a new line character, so double slash. And what you should see is that we get a multi-line equation. So it doesn't like the align. So I need to use package AMS math. All right, so it's just like Python. If you need, so some environments are defined in packages. So just like we had the hyperlinking. So when you need a kind of module in LaTeX, you just use the use package command at the top. So there's lots of packages available for doing all kinds of things. So the align command is basically part of AMS math. Now the other thing, so you notice what align does is basically I put this ampersand where I want my equations to line up. So I'll just give you an example. If I move this ampersand around, then you can see that my y is lined up with the equals sign here in the line above. So the ampersand is just where you would like things to align with the equation above, but it's simply a nice way to format your equations. Now, what if you would like to not number one of these equations? So for example, if number 2 you think is irrelevant, then you just add the /no number command. All right, but you can see it's very, very simple to start typing mathematics in a way that looks really, really nice in LaTeX. And in fact, this is one of the primary uses of LaTeX for science, is anything where you have to be mathematical. All right, but we basically have the gist of a nice document. And well, we should subsection really as much as possible, a multi-line equation. But you can go from there and learn the basic math syntax, but that's the basic structure of how you outline a document. And you notice that because we've ended the sentence here, I've punctuated my equation with a dot. And the dot is just simply saying that that equation is the end of the sentence.